A toddler found a German shepherd lying next to her dead puppies. What he did next left everyone in shock. The story you're about to listen to will leave you breathless. What this innocent child did in the face of tragedy changed lives forever. Like, share, and comment where you're listening from to spread this incredible true story of courage that shocked an entire community. Rain pelted against the windows of Grandma Lily's lakeside cottage, creating hypnotic patterns that 5-year-old Mia couldn't tear her eyes from. Her tiny finger traced the path of a raindrop as it raced down the glass, joining others in its descent. Outside, the gray sky rumbled with distant thunder, but inside, wrapped in the warmth of her grandmother's home, Mia felt nothing but wonder. 1, 2, she counted softly, her breath fogging the window. Uncle Jake had taught her this game count, the seconds between lightning and thunder, to know how far away the storm was. Her golden curls bounced as she pressed her forehead against the cool glass, waiting. Lightning flashed, illuminating the backyard and the dense woods beyond. Mia's fingers shot up. 1, 2, 3, a low rumble followed. 3 miles away, she announced proudly to the empty living room, though she wasn't quite sure if that was good or bad. From the kitchen came the comforting clatter of Grandma Lily preparing hot chocolate, the sweet scent wafting through the cottage. At 63, Lily Carson moved with the efficiency of someone who had spent 40 years as an emergency room nurse. Her silver hair was pulled back in a practical bun, and despite her retirement 3 years ago, she still carried herself with the alertness of someone used to crisis. "Don't press so hard against that window, sweetheart," Lily called out. "The glass gets cold enough to give you a headache." Mia reluctantly pulled back but kept her gaze fixed on the storm. Something about the wild weather fascinated her. The unpredictability, the raw power. It was so different from her usual carefully structured days in kindergarten. The front door opened with a rush of damp air, and Uncle Jake stepped inside, shaking water from his jacket like a dog after a swim. At 32, Jake Carson had his sister's practical nature, but with an added layer of curiosity that made him an excellent high school science teacher. His dark hair was plastered to his forehead, and his glasses were spotted with raindrops. "It's really coming down out there," he announced, hanging his dripping jacket on the hook by the door. "They're saying the creek might flood if this keeps up." Mia abandoned her window post and raced toward her uncle, wrapping her arms around his legs. "Uncle Jake, I was counting. The storm is 3 miles away." Jake grinned, ruffling her hair. "Good job, scientist. Actually, it's closer to 4 miles, but that's excellent counting." He lifted her up, ignoring the way his damp shirt now clung to her pajamas. "Did you know that sound travels at about 767 miles per hour? That's why we can count the time between seeing lightning and hearing thunder." Lily appeared from the kitchen, carrying a tray with 3 steaming mugs. "Jake, don't get her all worked up with science facts right before bedtime. You know how she gets." "How does she get?" Jake asked innocently, setting Mia down. "Last time you explained photosynthesis, she stayed up half the night whispering to her plants, telling them to breathe nice." Lily set the tray down on the coffee table, the rich aroma of chocolate filling the room. Jake laughed. "That's adorable." "Not at 3 in the morning it wasn't," Lily replied, but her eyes crinkled with affection. She handed Mia a mug with cooling marshmallows floating on top. "Careful, it's hot around the edges." Mia accepted it with exaggerated caution, holding it with both hands as she'd been taught. The warm ceramic felt good against her palms, and she blew across the surface, creating ripples in the brown liquid. Another flash of lightning brightened the room, followed more quickly by a crack of thunder that made Mia jump, sloshing a bit of her hot chocolate onto the rug. 1, 2, Jake counted softly, getting closer. Lily frowned. They didn't say it would be this bad tonight. She moved to close the curtains, her nurse's instinct for preparation kicking in. "I should check the emergency kit, make sure the flashlights have batteries." Jake took a sip from his mug. "Always prepared, aren't you, sis?" "Someone has to be," Lily replied, moving toward the hallway closet. "Dad always said—" Her words were cut off by another boom of thunder, this one so close it seemed to shake the cottage. Mia pressed herself against Jake's side, her hot chocolate forgotten on the table. "It's okay," Jake assured her, his arm around her small shoulders. "It's just the air expanding very quickly from the heat of the lightning. Nothing to be afraid of." But Mia wasn't looking at the windows anymore. Her attention had shifted to something else entirely. "Uncle Jake," she whispered, tugging at his sleeve. "I heard something." Jake tilted his head. "The thunder?" Mia shook her head, her curls bouncing. "No, it sounded like—" She paused, trying to find the right word. "Like crying." Jake exchanged a glance with Lily, who had returned with a flashlight in hand. The adults listened, but all they could hear was the steady drumming of rain on the roof and the occasional rumble of thunder. "I don't hear anything, sweetie," Lily said gently. "It's just the storm playing tricks." But Mia's expression remained solemn. "No, I heard it." She slipped from Jake's side and padded toward the back door, her bare feet silent on the wooden floor. It came from outside. Jake followed her, more out of curiosity than concern. What kind of crying did it sound like? Mia pressed her ear against the door. Like someone sad? Really, really sad? Lightning flashed again, illuminating Mia's determined little face. In that moment, with her brow furrowed in concentration, she looked so much like her mother, Jake's and Lily's niece, that it made Jake's heart twist. Sarah had been gone for almost a year now, a car accident on an icy road taking her far too soon, leaving Mia in their care. "There it is again!" Mia exclaimed, her voice rising with excitement. This time, both Jake and Lily heard it too, a faint whining sound, almost lost beneath the storm's fury. It was high-pitched and desperate, the unmistakable cry of an animal in distress. "Is it a baby?" Mia asked, her hand reaching for the doorknob. "Wait," Lily said sharply, moving forward to stop her. "Don't open that door, Mia. We don't know what's out there." But Mia had already turned the knob, and a gust of rain-scented wind pushed the door open just enough for them to see what lay on the back porch. What they saw next would change everything. Huddled against the wooden planks of the porch, drenched and shivering, was a German shepherd. Her once magnificent coat was matted with mud and something darker that might have been blood. But it wasn't the dog alone that made Lily gasp, and Jake stepped protectively in front of Mia. It was what the dog was curled around. 3 tiny, motionless forms, barely visible in the dim porch light. "Puppies!" Mia breathed, ducking under Jake's arm to get a better look. "She has babies!" The German shepherd raised her head at Mia's voice, her amber eyes filled with a sorrow so profound, it seemed almost human. She didn't growl or bare her teeth. She simply looked at them with exhausted resignation, as if she had traveled a great distance with her precious burden, only to arrive too late. "Oh my God!" Lily whispered, her nurse's eyes taking in the scene with professional detachment even as her heart squeezed painfully. "Those puppies, I don't think they're alive." The German shepherd whined again, a sound so heartbreaking it made tears spring to Jake's eyes. The dog gently nudged one of the puppies with her nose, as if trying to wake it, but the tiny form remained still. "We have to help them," Mia said, with the simple certainty of a child. She took another step forward, but this time Lily caught her arm. "Mia, no, that dog could be dangerous. She's hurt and scared, and that makes any animal unpredictable." "But Grandma Lily, she needs us," Mia protested, tears welling in her big blue eyes. "The puppies need us." Jake knelt beside Mia, bringing himself to her level. "Mia, honey, I think the puppies are already gone. Sometimes when babies are born, they don't make it." He struggled to find the right words, aware of how Sarah had always tried to be honest with Mia about difficult subjects. "But we might be able to help the mama dog." The German shepherd watched this exchange, her eyes moving from one human to another, as if understanding every word. When Jake mentioned helping her, her tail thumped once against the porch floor, a weak gesture of hope. Lily was already reaching for her phone. "I'll call animal control. They can send someone out to pick her up safely." "No!" Mia cried, her voice rising above the storm. "They'll take her away." The dog whimpered again, and in a movement so quick neither adult could stop her, Mia darted out onto the porch. Rain immediately soaked through her pajamas, but she didn't seem to notice. She dropped to her knees beside the German shepherd, her small hand reaching out. "Mia!" Lily and Jake shouted in unison, both lunging forward. But something extraordinary happened. Instead of snapping or growling, the dog simply lowered her head, allowing Mia's tiny fingers to touch her wet fur. A shudder ran through the dog's body. Whether from cold or relief, it was impossible to tell. "She's so sad," Mia whispered, her hand now gently stroking the dog's head. She tried really hard to save her babies. Jake and Lily stood frozen in the doorway, rain spattering against them. The tableau before them, a soaking wet little girl comforting a bereaved mother dog, was both terrifying and somehow sacred. "Uncle Jake," Mia said, looking up with rain mingling with tears on her cheeks. "We need to bring them inside. All of them." Jake looked at Lily, whose face reflected his own uncertainty. The dog was clearly in distress, possibly injured, and bringing a strange animal into the house with a 5-year-old child went against every safety rule they'd established. But there was something about the way the German Shepherd looked at Mia, a connection that defied explanation, that made Jake think this wasn't an ordinary situation. "She chose us," Mia said simply, as if that explained everything. "She knew we would help." Another flash of lightning illuminated the scene, and in that brief, brilliant moment, Jake saw something in the dog's eyes that convinced him. It wasn't just pain or fear, it was intelligence and something like hope. "Lily," he said quietly, "get some towels and the first aid kit." Lily hesitated for just a moment, then nodded. Her years as a nurse had taught her to trust her instincts, and right now, those instincts were telling her this dog wasn't a threat to Mia. I'll be right back," she said, disappearing into the house. Jake stepped out onto the porch, the rain immediately soaking through his shirt. He knelt beside Mia and the dog, carefully assessing the situation. Up close, he could see that the puppies were indeed lifeless, their tiny bodies cold and still despite their mother's protective embrace. "Hey there," he said softly to the dog, extending his hand palm up for her to sniff. "You've been through a lot, haven't you?" The German Shepherd regarded him warily but allowed his approach. Jake could see now that she had an old injury on her flank, a healed scar partially hidden by her wet fur. "What happened to you?" he murmured, more to himself than to the dog. Mia was still stroking the dog's head, her touch gentle and sure. "She's a mommy," she said, as if this was the most important fact. "And mommies need help sometimes." The simple wisdom in her words struck Jake like a physical blow. He thought of Sarah, of how fiercely she had loved Mia, of how she would have done anything to protect her child. This dog, with her last strength, had brought her puppies to the only place she could find, their doorstep, in a desperate bid for help. Lily returned with an armful of towels and a large plastic bin. "I thought we could make a bed for them in here," she explained, setting the bin down. She handed towels to Jake and Mia, keeping one for herself. "We need to dry her off before we bring her in." Together they gently wrapped the dog in towels, rubbing her fur to bring warmth back to her shivering body. The German Shepherd endured their ministrations with dignified patience, her eyes never leaving her puppies. "What about them?" Mia asked, looking at the tiny still forms. Jake and Lily exchanged a look over Mia's head. How to explain death to a child who had already experienced too much loss? "Sweetheart," Lily began gently, "the puppies are—" "Wait!" Mia interrupted, pointing at one of the puppies. "Look!" Jake and Lily followed her gaze, and for a moment they thought they saw what had excited her. A tiny movement, so slight it might have been imagined. But then it came again. The smallest puppy, a little gray ball of fur, twitched its paw. "It's alive!" Mia gasped, her face lighting up with wonder. "One of them is alive!" The German Shepherd's head snapped up, her ears pricked forward as she stared at her puppies. She whined, nosing the small gray pup gently. Jake moved closer, hardly daring to hope. "Let me see," he said, carefully picking up the tiny puppy. It was cold and barely moving, but when he held it against his chest, he felt the faintest flutter of a heartbeat. "She's right. This one's still hanging on." Lily was already in nurse mode, wrapping the puppy in a fresh towel. "We need to warm it up, quickly. Hypothermia in newborns can be reversed if we act fast." "What about the others?" Mia asked, her voice small. Jake checked each of the remaining puppies with a heavy heart, but there was no sign of life. "I'm sorry, Mia. The others didn't make it." Mia's lower lip trembled, but she nodded bravely. "Then we have to take extra special care of this one. For the mama." The German Shepherd seemed to understand what was happening. She struggled to her feet, her legs weak but determined, and looked expectantly at the humans. The message was clear. "Help my baby." "Let's get them inside," Lily said, the urgency in her voice cutting through the patter of rain. "Jake, can you carry the mother?" Jake handed the puppy to Lily and carefully slid his arms under the German Shepherd. She was lighter than he expected, her once powerful frame reduced by hardship. "It's okay, girl," he murmured as he lifted her. "We've got you now." As they entered the warmth of the cottage, the German Shepherd still in Jake's arms and the surviving puppy cradled against Lily's chest, Mia followed with solemn purpose, carrying the plastic bin with the other puppies wrapped in towels. "We should bury them," she said quietly, "when the rain stops, like we did for Mom's bird." Jake and Lily exchanged another glance, this one filled with shared grief and awe at Mia's resilience. Sometimes the wisdom of children put adults to shame. "Yes," Jake agreed, gently setting the German Shepherd down on a blanket Lily had spread near the fireplace. "That's exactly what we'll do." The dog immediately looked for her puppies, her anxiety palpable, until Lily carefully placed the surviving pup next to her. With infinite tenderness, the mother began to lick her baby, her large tongue carefully cleaning the tiny form, as if willing life back into it. Mia set the bin down nearby, where the mother could see it. "The others are here too," she told the dog, as if she would understand. "We'll take care of them." As Jake built up the fire and Lily prepared a bowl of warm water and some leftover chicken from dinner, Mia sat cross-legged beside the German Shepherd, watching the reunion of mother and child with a mixture of sadness and hope. "What should we call her?" Mia asked, looking up at her uncle and grandmother. Lily paused in her task. "Mia, honey, we can't keep her. Once she's better, we'll need to find out if she belongs to someone." "She belongs to us now," Mia said with that same simple certainty. "She chose us." Jake couldn't help but smile at her conviction. "How about we give her a temporary name then, just while she's staying with us?" Mia considered this, her head tilted to one side. "Luna," she decided, looking at the dog's silver-tipped fur. "Because she came with the storm." "Luna," Jake repeated, testing the name. "I like it." As if in response, the newly named Luna looked up, her amber eyes meeting Jake's. In that moment, something passed between them, an understanding, a promise. Jake felt a chill run down his spine that had nothing to do with his wet clothes. This dog hadn't just stumbled upon their cottage by accident. She had brought her puppies here for a reason, and somehow, Jake knew, their lives would never be the same again. Outside, the storm continued to rage, but inside the cottage, a different kind of storm was brewing, one that would sweep them all into an adventure none of them could have imagined. The silence in the room was broken only by the crackling of the fire and Luna's gentle whimpers as she tended to her surviving pup. Lily paced near the kitchen doorway, her phone in hand, thumb hovering over the screen. "We should call animal control," she said again, her voice low enough that Mia, still sitting beside Luna, couldn't hear. "Or at least a vet. That dog could be sick, Jake, or dangerous." Jake watched as Mia stroked Luna's head, the child's touch gentle and reverent. "Look at them, Lily. Does that look like a dangerous dog to you?" Lily sighed, slipping her phone back into her pocket. "Fine, but first thing tomorrow, we're taking her to Dr. Miller to get checked out. And we'll ask about missing dogs in the area." Jake nodded, relieved. He couldn't explain why, but the thought of turning Luna over to strangers felt wrong, like betraying a trust. "Fair enough." Mia looked up, her face serious in the firelight. "Grandma Lily, the baby puppy needs milk. Mother dogs make milk for their babies, right?" Lily knelt beside her granddaughter, touched by her concern. "Yes, they do, but Luna might be too weak or stressed right now." Her nurse's mind was already cataloging what they would need. Puppy formula, a small bottle, a warm place for the pup to sleep. "I know what to do," Jake said suddenly, reaching for his phone. "I'll call Zoe from school. She fosters animals all the time. She'll know exactly what we need." As Jake stepped away to make the call, Lily retrieved a small box and lined it with a soft blanket. "Let's make a bed for the puppy right next to Luna so she can keep an eye on her baby." Mia nodded solemnly, helping to arrange the blanket. "What about the others?" she asked, glancing at the plastic bin where the other puppies lay. Lily's heart ached. "We'll keep them comfortable for tonight, and tomorrow, when the storm passes, we can find a special place in the garden to bury them. Would you like that?" Mia considered this, then nodded. Under the big oak tree, Mom always said it was the most peaceful spot. Lily swallowed the lump in her throat. "That's a perfect place." Jake returned, his face brightened with purpose. "Zoe's amazing. She's bringing over puppy formula, bottles, and some other supplies. She says if the puppy is newborn, it'll need feeding every 2 hours. Every 2 hours? Lily repeated, raising an eyebrow. That's going to be a long night. I can help, Mia volunteered immediately. I can feed the puppy too. Jake smiled, ruffling her still damp curls. I know you can, kiddo, but you need your sleep. How about you help with the daytime feedings, and Grandma Lily and I will handle the night shift? Mia seemed satisfied with this arrangement. She returned her attention to Luna, who had finally settled, her body curled protectively around her surviving puppy. She trusts us, Mia said quietly. She knows we'll take care of her family. The simple statement hung in the air, carrying with it the weight of their own shared grief, their own reconstructed family. Jake and Lily exchanged a look over Mia's head, a look that acknowledged the strange parallels between this dog's situation and their own. 20 minutes later, the doorbell rang. Jake opened it to find Zoe Mitchell on the porch, her arms loaded with supplies, her curly hair even wilder than usual from the rain. Where's the patient? She asked, stepping inside without ceremony. Zoe was a biology teacher at Jake's school, known for her boundless energy and her devotion to animal rescue. At 35, she had converted her entire basement into a foster space for animals awaiting permanent homes. Thanks for coming out in this weather, Jake said, taking some of the bags from her arms. Zoe waved away his thanks, her attention already focused on Luna and the puppy. Oh, poor mama, she murmured, approaching slowly. What happened to her? We don't know, Lily answered. She just showed up at our door with 3 puppies. Only one survived. Zoe knelt beside Luna, extending her hand for the dog to sniff. Luna raised her head warily but didn't growl. After a moment of assessment, her tail thumped once against the floor, a tentative acceptance. Good girl, Zoe praised softly. You've been through a lot, haven't you? She examined Luna with practiced hands, checking her gums, feeling her ribs, examining the healed scar on her flank. She's undernourished, but not critically. That scar is old. Looks like a surgical incision that healed well. She's been someone's pet, that's for sure. See? Lily whispered to Jake. She probably has owners looking for her. Zoe had moved on to the puppy, her expression more concerned. This little one is in rough shape. Newborns shouldn't feel cold like this. She reached into one of her bags and pulled out a heating pad. Let's get this set up under half of the box so the pup can move away if it gets too warm. As Zoe directed them in preparing a proper setup for the puppy, Mia watched with solemn attention, absorbing every detail. When it came time to try feeding the tiny creature, Zoe demonstrated how to mix the formula and warm the bottle. Would you like to try? She asked Mia, holding out the tiny bottle. Mia's eyes widened. Can I really? I think you're just the right person for the job, Zoe said with a smile, gentle and patient. Under Zoe's guidance, Mia carefully held the puppy, supporting its head as she offered the bottle. At first, the pup seemed too weak to suckle, but after a few tries, it latched on, drinking with surprising strength. Look! Mia gasped, her face glowing with delight. She's doing it! Luna watched this process intently, her amber eyes never leaving her puppy. When Mia finished the feeding and returned the pup to the heated box beside Luna, the mother dog gently licked both the puppy and Mia's hand, a gesture of gratitude that brought tears to Lily's eyes. What should we name the puppy? Mia asked, looking around at the adults. It's a girl, Zoe confirmed after a quick check, and quite a fighter by the looks of it. Mia thought for a moment. Nova, she decided, because she's like a tiny star. Jake smiled. Luna and Nova. Perfect. Zoe stayed for another hour, showing them how to stimulate the puppy to eliminate waste, a process that made Mia giggle despite the seriousness of the situation, and setting up a feeding schedule. Before she left, she examined Luna once more. No collar, but she might be microchipped. We can check at the clinic tomorrow. She scratched Luna behind the ears. Though I have to say, she seems pretty comfortable here already. After Zoe left, they settled into an uneasy routine. Lily insisted that Mia go to bed, though it took considerable persuasion to separate her from Luna and Nova. They'll still be here in the morning, Jake promised, tucking her in, and you can help with the first feeding. Uncle Jake, Mia said sleepily as he turned to leave, Luna came to us for a reason. I can feel it. Jake paused in the doorway. What kind of reason, kiddo? But Mia was already drifting off, her small body curled on her side in unconscious mimicry of Luna's protective pose downstairs. The night passed in shifts, with Jake and Lily taking turns feeding Nova and checking on Luna. By morning, the storm had blown itself out, leaving behind a washed-clean world and a sky of startling blue. The puppy had made it through the night, growing stronger with each feeding, while Luna had accepted food and water and even allowed Lily to clean and bandage a few cuts on her legs. Mia came downstairs at first light, making a beeline for Luna and Nova. "They're still okay," she announced with relief, as if she'd been carrying the worry all night in her dreams. After breakfast, they prepared for the trip to the veterinarian. The plan was for Lily to take Luna and Nova, while Jake stayed behind with Mia to bury the other puppies. But when Lily tried to lead Luna to her car, the dog balked, looking back at Mia with distress. "I think she wants Mia to come," Jake observed. Lily frowned. "I don't know if that's a good idea. If Luna does belong to someone else..." "All the more reason for Mia to understand the process," Jake said quietly, better than her imagining Luna just disappeared. In the end, they all went together, Lily driving, Jake holding the box with Nova, and Mia sitting beside Luna in the back seat, her small hand buried in the dog's fur. Dr. Miller's clinic was quiet when they arrived, the waiting room empty except for a teenage receptionist who looked up from her phone with surprise. "Wow, full house," she commented, reaching for a clipboard. "New patients?" Lily explained the situation while Jake filled out forms, doing his best to answer questions about Luna's age, adult but not elderly, breed, mostly German Shepherd, maybe some Malinois, and medical history, unknown. Dr. Miller, a petite woman with prematurely silver hair and kind eyes, greeted them warmly. "So, you're our storm rescue," she said, kneeling to examine Luna. "Let's get you checked out." The examination was thorough. Luna endured it with stoic patience, though she grew restless whenever Mia moved out of her sight. Nova received even more careful attention, her tiny body measured and weighed, her heartbeat monitored. "The puppy is about 3 days old," Dr. Miller announced, gently returning Nova to her heated box. "She's smaller than she should be, but her vitals are good. As for Mom here..." She ran a scanner over Luna's shoulder blades. "Ah, as I suspected. She is microchipped." Mia's face fell. "Does that mean she belongs to someone else?" Dr. Miller typed some information into her computer. "Let's see what the registry tells us." After a moment, she frowned at the screen. "That's odd. The chip is registered to a K9 training facility in Virginia, but the record is flagged as inactive. Usually that means the dog has been retired or passed away." Jake leaned forward. "So she was a working dog?" "Looks that way. Military or police, most likely, given the facility." Dr. Miller pointed to the scar on Luna's flank. "That's from a surgical repair, probably a battle injury. This dog has seen some action." Lily glanced at Luna with new respect. "Is there a contact number for the facility?" "Yes, but it's the weekend. I can leave a message, but we probably won't hear back until Monday at the earliest." Dr. Miller looked at Luna thoughtfully. "In the meantime, she seems to have chosen you folks. Would you be willing to foster her while we sort this out? Otherwise, she'll have to go to the county shelter." "Yes!" Mia exclaimed before either adult could respond. "We'll take care of her." Lily and Jake exchanged a look, a silent negotiation passing between them. Finally, Lily nodded. "We can foster her until her owners are found." Dr. Miller smiled. "Excellent. I'll send you home with antibiotics for those cuts, some high-quality food to help her regain her strength, and everything you need for the puppy. Just remember, newborns are a big commitment. Round-the-clock feedings, temperature monitoring, stimulation for elimination." "We've got a good teacher," Jake said, thinking of Zoe's detailed instructions, "and a very dedicated assistant." He squeezed Mia's shoulder. By the time they left the clinic, loaded down with supplies and information, it was early afternoon. Luna seemed more at ease now, walking confidently beside Mia as they returned to the car. "Now we need to bury the other puppies," Mia said as they drove home, her voice small but determined. "They shouldn't wait any longer." Jake nodded, catching Lily's eye in the rearview mirror. They had wrapped the tiny bodies the night before, placing them in a small wooden box Jake had found in the garage. It wasn't something either of them had looked forward to, but Mia was right. It needed to be done. Back at the cottage, while Lily settled Luna and Nova in their new setup in the living room, Jake and Mia went out to the garden. The air was fresh and clean after the storm, the grass still wet underfoot. Jake carried the small box while Mia led the way to the massive oak tree that dominated the back corner of the property. "Mom and I used to have picnics here," Mia said, patting the trunk of the tree. She said it was hundreds of years old and knew all kinds of secrets. Jake smiled, remembering his niece's whimsical nature. "Your mom was right. Trees this old have seen a lot of life." Together they dug a small, neat hole among the roots of the oak. Jake let Mia set the pace, watching as she carefully removed stones and smoothed the earth at the bottom of the hole. "There," she said finally, sitting back on her heels. "It's ready." Jake placed the box in the hole, then hesitated. "Do you want to say something, Mia, before we cover it?" Mia nodded solemnly. She knelt beside the hole, her small hands clasped in front of her. "Dear puppies," she began, her voice clear in the quiet garden. "I'm sorry you didn't get to stay. Your mama tried really hard to save you. She brought you to our door because she knew we would help. And we're going to take really good care of your sister, Nova, and your mama, Luna, I promise." She looked up at Jake, tears shimmering in her eyes. "Is that okay?" Jake, his own vision blurred, nodded. "That was beautiful, Mia. Perfect." Together they filled in the hole, patting down the earth and marking the spot with a circle of smooth river stones that Mia collected from the garden path. When they were done, they stood in silence for a moment, honoring the brief lives of the puppies and the mother who had tried so desperately to save them. As they walked back to the house, Mia slipped her hand into Jake's. "Uncle Jake?" "Yes, kiddo? I think Luna was sent to us." Jake looked down at her serious little face. "What makes you say that?" Mia shrugged, the gesture oddly adult. "I just feel it. Like when Mom used to say she could feel rain coming in her bones." Jake squeezed her hand, struck again by how much she resembled Sarah. Not just in her looks, but in her intuition, her sensitivity to things others might miss. "Maybe you're right," he said, and was surprised to realize he meant it. There had been something deliberate about Luna's appearance at their door, something that felt less like chance and more like purpose. Inside, they found Lily sitting on the floor beside Luna, Nova's feeding box between them. The transformation in Luna since the previous night was remarkable. Her fur, though still dull, had been cleaned and brushed. Her eyes were brighter, more alert, and she held herself with the dignity that befitted her military background. "You're back just in time," Lily said, looking up with a smile that didn't quite hide the concern in her eyes. "Nova's due for another feeding." Mia immediately sat down beside Luna, reaching for the formula Lily had prepared. With surprising confidence, she lifted the tiny puppy, supporting her head as Zoe had shown her, and offered the bottle. Nova latched on immediately, her little body squirming with eagerness. "She's stronger already," Mia said proudly. Luna watched the process with maternal intensity, occasionally leaning forward to lick her puppy clean. When the feeding was done, Mia carefully returned Nova to her heated box, then settled against Luna's side, her arm draped over the dog's neck. Jake, watching this tableau of trust and care, felt something shift inside him, a loosening of the grief that had wrapped around his heart since Sarah's death. There was something healing in this unexpected responsibility, this creature who needed them. "I called the training facility," Lily said quietly, joining him by the window. "Left a message about finding Luna. The receptionist there said someone would call back on Monday." Jake nodded, his eyes still on Mia and Luna. "And if they want her back?" Lily sighed. "Then we'll deal with that when it comes, but..." She hesitated, searching for the right words. "I have a feeling there's more to this story than we know." "Mia thinks Luna was sent to us," Jake said, keeping his voice low. "That it wasn't just chance." Lily smiled, the fine lines around her eyes crinkling. "Out of the mouths of babes. Sarah always said Mia had an old soul." They stood together in comfortable silence, watching as Mia dozed off against Luna's side, the dog's protective presence a bulwark against bad dreams. None of them could have predicted what the next morning would bring. A visitor who would change everything they thought they knew about their new four-legged friend. What could Luna be hiding? Was she more than just a lost military dog? Comment your theories below. The next morning dawned clear and bright, as if the storm had never happened. Jake was the first one up, padding downstairs in his pajama pants and t-shirt to find Luna already alert, her amber eyes following him as he entered the living room. Nova had made it through another night, growing visibly stronger with each feeding. "Morning, soldier," Jake said softly, kneeling to scratch Luna behind the ears. "You're looking better today." Luna's tail thumped against the floor in response. There was something in her gaze that continued to fascinate Jake, an intelligence that seemed almost human. He'd had dogs growing up, had always been an animal lover, but Luna was different. She watched him with a focus that felt like communication. While the coffee brewed, Jake knelt beside Luna and Nova, checking the puppy's makeshift bed. The heating pad was still warm, the blanket clean. Nova was sleeping peacefully, her tiny chest rising and falling in a steady rhythm. It was while adjusting the blanket that Jake noticed something he'd missed before, a patch of fur on Luna's flank that seemed odd, slightly different in texture. Curious, he gently parted the fur to get a better look at the healed scar Dr. Miller had pointed out. "What's this, girl?" he murmured, fingers tracing the smooth line of the old incision. But it wasn't just a scar. As he examined it more closely, Jake realized there was something beneath Luna's skin. A small, hard object about the size of a grain of rice, separate from the microchip Dr. Miller had scanned. He probed it gently, and Luna tensed, her eyes fixed on his face. "Sorry," Jake said, withdrawing his hand. "Does that hurt?" Luna relaxed, but her gaze remained intense, as if she were trying to tell him something. "Uncle Jake!" Mia's voice came from the stairs, followed by the patter of her feet. She appeared in the doorway, still in her pajamas, her curls a wild halo around her face. "Is Nova okay?" "Good morning, early bird," Jake smiled, standing up. "Nova's fine. She had a good night." Mia dropped to her knees beside Luna, immediately checking on the puppy. "She looks bigger already." "I think you're right," Jake agreed, moving to the kitchen to pour his coffee. "Zoe said puppies grow fast, but this is pretty amazing." Lily joined them soon after, already dressed for the day in jeans and a comfortable sweater. "How's our little patient?" she asked, peering into Nova's box. "Getting stronger," Mia reported proudly. "Can I feed her now?" While Lily helped Mia prepare Nova's bottle, Jake found himself distracted, his thoughts returning to the strange object beneath Luna's skin. It wasn't unheard of for military dogs to be implanted with various devices. GPS trackers, medical monitors, but those would typically be included in the animal's records. The fact that Dr. Miller hadn't mentioned it suggested she hadn't known it was there. After breakfast, Mia and Lily settled in the living room with Luna and Nova, establishing a routine of feeding, cleaning, and monitoring that turned the house into an impromptu puppy nursery. Jake took the opportunity to step outside, phone in hand, and make a call. Zoe answered on the third ring, her voice breathless. "Jake, everything okay with the puppy?" "Nova's doing great," he assured her. "It's Luna I'm calling about. I found something strange. There's some kind of implant under her skin, near that scar on her flank. It's not the microchip. This is smaller, different location." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "That's odd. Military working dogs sometimes have specialized equipment, but it should have shown up in her records when Dr. Miller scanned her." "That's what I thought," Jake said, lowering his voice as he glanced back at the house. "But what if it's not official? What if someone put it there who wasn't supposed to?" Zoe was silent for a moment. "You think someone's tracking her?" "I don't know what to think," Jake admitted. "But Luna didn't just end up at our door by accident. She was looking for help, specifically." "You're starting to sound like Mia," Zoe said, but there was no mockery in her tone. "Listen, I know someone who works with retired military dogs. Let me make a call, see if I can find out more about this facility in Virginia." "Thanks, Zoe. I appreciate it." "Just be careful, Jake," she added, her voice turning serious. "If someone is tracking that dog." Jake ended the call with a promise to keep Zoe updated, then stood on the porch for a long moment, watching the wind stir the trees at the edge of the property. Zoe's concern had crystallized his own unease. Luna wasn't just a lost dog. She was carrying something. Information, perhaps, or evidence. Something valuable enough that someone might be looking for her. And not necessarily someone with good intentions. Inside, Jake found Mia reading a book to Luna and Nova, her small voice animated as she described the adventures of a fictional puppy who could fly. Lily was in the kitchen, preparing lunch and making a list of supplies they would need for the coming week. "Everything okay?" Lily asked when Jake entered, noticing his expression. "You look worried." Jake hesitated, unwilling to share his suspicions without more information. Just thinking about tomorrow. If that training facility calls back. Lily nodded, understanding. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. For now, let's just focus on keeping these two healthy. The day passed peacefully. Luna grew more comfortable in their home, even venturing upstairs when Mia showed her around. Nova continued to thrive, her feedings becoming more vigorous, her tiny body filling out. By late afternoon, they had settled into a rhythm that felt almost normal, as if Luna and Nova had always been part of their lives. It was just after 5 when the knock came, 3 sharp raps, authoritative and demanding. Luna, who had been dozing beside Mia on the couch, was instantly alert, her ears forward, her body tense. Jake and Lily exchanged a glance. They weren't expecting visitors, and their cottage was remote enough that unannounced guests were rare. "I'll get it," Jake said, moving to the front door as the knock came again, more insistent this time. He opened the door to find a man standing on the porch, tall, broad-shouldered, with a military-style haircut, and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. He wore a dark windbreaker over jeans, and there was a bulge under the jacket that Jake immediately recognized as a concealed weapon. "Can I help you?" Jake asked, keeping his tone neutral while instinctively blocking the doorway with his body. "Hope so," the man said, his voice pleasant but clipped. "Name's Marcus Decker. I'm looking for my dog, German Shepherd. She got out during the storm night before last, and I've been searching ever since." Behind Jake, Luna growled, a low, dangerous sound he hadn't heard from her before. "Your dog?" Jake repeated, trying to keep the skepticism from his voice. "Do you have any proof of ownership?" Decker's smile tightened. "Sure do. Got photos right here." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a phone, swiping to show Jake a picture of a German Shepherd that did indeed look like Luna. "Her name's Sadie. She's been with me for years." The photo looked legitimate, but something about the man's demeanor set off alarm bells in Jake's mind. He thought of the implant beneath Luna's skin, of her military background, of the way she had showed up at their door with such desperate purpose. "I see," Jake said, stalling for time. "And did Sadie have puppies recently?" A flicker of surprise crossed Decker's face, but he recovered quickly. "Yes, she did. 3 of them. Are they here too?" Jake felt a cold certainty settle in his gut. If Luna had truly belonged to this man, he would have asked about the puppies immediately. The fact that he hadn't mentioned them until prompted told Jake everything he needed to know. "I'm afraid we haven't seen your dog," Jake said firmly, "but I'll certainly keep an eye out." Decker's friendly facade slipped, just for a moment, revealing something hard and dangerous beneath. "Mind if I take a look around? She might have found shelter nearby." "This is private property," Jake said, his hand tight on the doorframe. "If you'd like to leave your contact information, I can call you if we spot her." The 2 men stared at each other for a long moment, the pretense of politeness wearing thin. Finally, Decker reached into his jacket. Jake tensed and produced a business card. "My number's on there," he said, handing it over. "Call anytime, day or night if you see her. She's very valuable to me." Jake took the card, noting that it listed Decker as a security consultant with no company affiliation. "I'll do that." As Decker turned to leave, he paused, his head tilting slightly as if listening. From inside the house came the faint sound of Nova whimpering, followed by Luna's answering whine. Decker's eyes narrowed. "You sure you haven't seen my dog? Sounds like you might have one in there." "That's my sister's dog," Jake lied smoothly. "A lab mix. She's staying with us for a few days." Decker held Jake's gaze for another tense moment, then nodded and stepped back. "Well, remember what I said. Call if you see Sadie. She means a lot to me." Jake waited until Decker had returned to his car, a black SUV with tinted windows and no visible license plate, before closing and locking the door. He leaned against it for a moment, heart pounding, then hurried back to the living room. Lily was standing protectively near Mia and the dogs, her face pale. "Who was that?" "Trouble," Jake said grimly, moving to the window to watch Decker's SUV roll down their long driveway. "He claims Luna is his dog, but she clearly doesn't think so." Indeed, Luna was still on high alert, her body positioned between Mia and the front door, a low growl rumbling in her chest. "He's scared, Luna," Mia said, her arms around the dog's neck. "She doesn't like him." "I don't either, kiddo," Jake agreed, turning away from the window once Decker's vehicle disappeared from view. And I don't think he's going to give up that easily. Lily moved closer, lowering her voice so Mia wouldn't hear. Do you think he'll come back? Jake nodded grimly. I'm sure of it. The question is, what does he want with Luna? And how did he find her here? His hand went to his pocket where he had placed Decker's business card. Something about the weight of it felt wrong. He pulled it out and examined it more closely, then swore under his breath. What is it? Lily asked. Jake held up the card. This isn't just a business card. There's a chip embedded in it, some kind of tracker. He's not just looking for Luna, he's making sure he can find his way back to us. Lily's eyes widened. Jake, this is getting dangerous. We need to call the police. And tell them what? That a man is looking for his dog? Jake shook his head. We don't have proof that Luna isn't his. For all we know, officially she might be. Then what do we do? Jake looked at Luna, at the intelligence in her amber eyes, at the protective way she remained by Mia's side. He thought of the implant beneath her skin, of her desperate journey through the storm to bring her puppies to their door. We need to find out who Luna really is, he said, and why she came to us. That evening after Mia had gone to bed, Jake and Lily sat at the kitchen table, the business card sealed in a plastic bag between them. I talked to Zoe again, Jake said, keeping his voice low. Her contact confirmed that the training facility in Virginia is legitimate. They provide dogs to military and law enforcement. But here's the thing. They're very strict about their retired dogs. They either keep them or place them with handlers. They don't just lose track of them. So either Luna was stolen, Lily suggested, or she was deliberately given to someone outside the official channels. Exactly. And either way, that someone now wants her back badly enough to track her here. Jake drummed his fingers on the table. We need to know what's in that implant. How? We can't exactly cut it out of her. No, but we might be able to scan it. Jake rubbed his jaw thoughtfully. My friend Cameron works in IT security. He has equipment that can detect and read various types of RFID and NFC chips. I could take Luna to him tomorrow. Lily frowned. What about Decker? If he comes back while you're gone? That's why you and Mia should go stay with Beth for the day, Jake said, referring to Lily's friend who lived in town. Just as a precaution. I don't like splitting up, Lily said, but the worry in her eyes told Jake she understood the necessity. It's just for a few hours, and this way, if Decker is monitoring the house, he'll see everyone leave. He won't know we've separated. They finalized their plan, agreeing that they would leave together in the morning. Lily and Mia with Nova, heading to Beth's house, while Jake would take Luna to Cameron's office under the pretense of running errands. Get some sleep, Jake told Lily as they finished discussing the details. Tomorrow could be a long day. But sleep proved elusive for Jake. He lay awake, his mind racing with questions. Who was Marcus Decker really? What information was Luna carrying? Why had she chosen their door to appear at? Around midnight, unable to rest, he went downstairs for a glass of water. In the living room, Luna raised her head from her position beside Nova's box, her eyes gleaming in the darkness. Can't sleep either, huh? Jake murmured, sitting beside her. Luna shifted, resting her head on his knee. The gesture was so trusting, so intentional, that Jake felt a lump form in his throat. He gently stroked her fur, fingers finding the spot where the mysterious implant lay beneath her skin. What are you trying to tell us, Luna? He whispered. Who are you running from? Luna's only response was to press closer, her warmth against his side a silent promise. Whatever secret she carried, whatever danger followed her, she had chosen them as her protectors, and Jake was determined not to let her down. Morning came too quickly, gray light filtering through the curtains as the household stirred to life. By 7, they were all packed in ready overnight bags for Lily and Mia, a carrier for Nova, and a leash for Luna that she accepted with dignified tolerance. Remember, stick to the plan, Jake told Lily as they prepared to leave. I'll call once Luna and I are at Cameron's. Mia looked between the adults, sensing the tension. Are we playing a game? Jake knelt to her level. Sort of, kiddo. We're going on an adventure to help Luna, but it's a secret adventure. We can't tell anyone else about it, okay? Mia nodded solemnly, always eager to be part of a secret. I won't tell anyone. They left the house together, loading into Lily's SUV. The plan was for her to drop Jake and Luna at a cafe in town, where Jake's own car was parked, before continuing on to Beth's house. As they pulled out of the driveway, Jake scanned the road for any sign of Decker's black SUV, but the country lane was empty. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, of invisible eyes tracking their movement. The handoff in town went smoothly. Jake and Luna waited until Lily's vehicle disappeared around a corner before walking the 2 blocks to where his car was parked. Luna stayed close to his side, alert but calm, her behavior impeccable despite never having been formally trained by Jake or Lily. "You really are a professional, aren't you?" Jake murmured as he opened the car door for her. Luna jumped in without hesitation, settling in the passenger seat as if she'd ridden there 100 times before. Cameron's office was in a converted warehouse on the edge of town, a startup tech company where he worked as the security chief. Jake had called ahead, explaining just enough to intrigue his friend without revealing the full situation. "So this is the mysterious dog," Cameron said when they arrived, greeting Luna with a respectful distance. He was a lanky man in his 30s, with a perpetual 5 o'clock shadow and bright, curious eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. "This is Luna," Jake confirmed. "Thanks for doing this, Cam." "Are you kidding? Secret implants, mysterious strangers? This is the most interesting thing to happen around here in months." Cameron led them into a back room filled with various electronic equipment. "Let's see what we're dealing with." The scanning process took longer than Jake had anticipated. Cameron tried several different devices, each designed to detect specific types of chips or transmitters. Luna lay patiently on a blanket, seeming to understand the importance of the procedure. "Well, I've got good news and weird news," Cameron said finally, setting aside his equipment. "The good news is, I know what type of implant she has. It's a specialized data storage device, military grade, designed to be biologically compatible and virtually undetectable by standard scanners." "And the weird news?" Cameron rubbed the back of his neck. "The weird news is I can't access the data. It's encrypted, high-level stuff. This isn't just a tracking device, Jake. It's more like a secure flash drive, implanted in a dog." Jake absorbed this information, pieces falling into place. So Luna is carrying information. Something valuable or sensitive enough to hide this way. Exactly. And whoever this Decker guy is, he wants that information badly. Cameron looked at Luna with new respect. "Your dog is essentially a 4-legged classified document." As they were preparing to leave, Jake's phone rang. It was Lily, her voice tight with controlled panic. "Jake, he's here, Decker. He showed up at Beth's house 10 minutes ago, asking questions." Jake's blood ran cold. "How did he find you?" "I don't know. He said he was from animal control, doing a follow-up on a report of a stray dog. Beth didn't let him in, but he's sitting in his car down the street, watching the house." "Stay inside, doors locked," Jake instructed, his mind racing. "I'm on my way." But as he ended the call, a new text came through from a number he didn't recognize. "I know you have Aria. Bring her to Riverside Park, north entrance, 1 hour. Come alone, or the girl and the puppy will be at risk. This isn't a game." Jake stared at the message, a cold dread settling in his stomach. Aria, another name for Luna. Whoever was after her knew exactly where Lily and Mia were, and they were done playing nice. "I have to go," he told Cameron, showing him the text. "Can you call the police, get them to Beth's house? But tell them to be discreet. No sirens, no uniforms if possible." Cameron nodded grimly. "Be careful, Jake. This guy sounds serious." Luna, who had been watching their exchange with those intelligent eyes, stood up and moved to Jake's side, as if understanding the new urgency. "Let's go get our family," Jake said to her, feeling a surge of determination beneath his fear. As they left Cameron's office, Jake couldn't help but wonder what information Luna, or Aria, was carrying that was worth threatening a child for. Whatever it was, he was certain of one thing. The answer lay beneath Luna's skin, encrypted in a chip that someone was willing to do anything to possess. Did Jake make the right choice by agreeing to meet the mysterious man? What will happen when they confront each other at Riverside Park? Tell us your predictions in the comments. Jake's knuckles were white on the steering wheel as he drove through town, Luna sitting alert in the passenger seat beside him. His mind raced, weighing options, calculating risks. Riverside Park was a public place, safer than meeting Decker alone somewhere isolated. But it was also vast, with wooded areas where anything could happen unobserved. "We're not going to the park," he told Luna, making a sudden decision. At least, not directly. He pulled into the parking lot of the police station, his original instinct to go straight to the authorities warring with the warning in Decker's text. Come alone, or the girl and the puppy will be at risk. How could Decker possibly know if Jake contacted the police? Unless... Jake glanced at Luna, remembering the implant beneath her skin. If she carried one tracking device, might she carry others? Could Decker be monitoring them right now? Wait here, he told Luna, leaving the windows cracked as he stepped out of the car. Instead of entering the police station, he walked to a convenience store across the street and purchased a burner phone with cash. Back in the car, he used it to call Lily. "It's me," he said when she answered. "Are you and Mia still okay?" "Yes," Lily replied, her voice tight with tension. "Beth's husband Bill is here now too. Decker's still parked down the street." "I need you to listen carefully," Jake said, speaking quickly. "I think Luna might be bugged, the implant or something else. I don't know if Decker can hear us through it, but I'm not taking chances. I'm going to the park to meet him, but I have a plan." "Jake, no. Trust me, Lily. I won't let anything happen to any of us." He glanced at his watch. "I need to go. Stay inside, doors locked. I'll call you when it's safe." He ended the call and looked at Luna, who was watching him with those intelligent eyes. "I hope you trust me," he told her softly, "because I'm going to need your help." Riverside Park was quiet when they arrived, the afternoon sun casting long shadows across the grass. Jake parked near the north entrance as instructed, then leaned over to attach a thin cord to Luna's collar. Not her regular leash, but a lightweight paracord he kept in his emergency kit. "If anything happens to me," he murmured, his face close to hers, "find Mia. Protect her." Luna's ears pricked forward, and Jake could have sworn she nodded slightly, as if understanding the gravity of his words. They walked together into the park, following the main path that wound between tall oak trees. Jake was hyper-aware of their surroundings. The elderly couple feeding ducks by the pond, the young mother pushing a stroller, the jogger passing on their left. Any of them could be working with Decker. Or perhaps they were all innocent bystanders, potential witnesses to whatever was about to unfold. Near a cluster of picnic tables, Jake spotted him, Marcus Decker, standing with his back to a large oak tree, hands in the pockets of his dark windbreaker. The man's posture was casual, but his eyes were sharp, scanning continuously, missing nothing. "There you are," Decker called as they approached, his gaze fixed on Luna. "And you brought my dog. Smart choice." Jake stopped several yards away, keeping Luna at his side. "She's not your dog." Decker's smile was cold. "Her designation is K9 Unit 7362, codename Aria. She's military property assigned to my security team, and you're interfering with a matter of national security by harboring her." "If this is official business," Jake challenged, "where's your ID? Your backup? Why the threats against my family?" "Some operations require discretion." Decker's hand moved slightly in his pocket. "Now, I appreciate you bringing Aria to me, but there's one more thing I need. The data she's carrying." Jake tensed. So, Cameron had been right. Luna was transporting information. "I don't have any data." "Don't play dumb, Professor. The implant in her flank standard procedure for assets in the field. It contains files that belong to my organization." "What organization would that be?" Decker's eyes narrowed. "That's classified. But I can assure you, the penalties for obstructing our work are severe." He took a step forward. "Now, you have two options. Give me the extraction key for the implant and walk away, or make this difficult and put your niece at risk." Jake's blood ran cold at the mention of Mia. How did Decker know about her? About their relationship? He was clearly well informed. Dangerously so. "I don't have any extraction key," Jake said truthfully. "I don't even know what that means." Decker studied him for a moment, then nodded as if this confirmed something. "I believe you, but that doesn't change the facts. I need that data, which means I need Aria." He held out his hand. "Give me the leash, and we'll consider this matter closed." Luna growled low in her throat, pressing against Jake's leg. The message couldn't have been clearer. She had no intention of going with Decker. "She doesn't seem to recognize you as her handler," Jake observed. A flash of anger crossed Decker's face. "That dog is property, not a pet. Her preferences are irrelevant." In that moment, Jake knew with absolute certainty that whatever organization Decker represented, it wasn't legitimate. No official military or intelligence agency would speak about a trained service animal in such cold terms. Luna had been valued, respected. The healed surgical scar on her flank was evidence of that. Someone had cared enough to save her life once. "I think you're lying," Jake said, his voice gaining confidence. "I think you stole her. And whatever information she's carrying, it's not yours to take." Decker's friendly facade vanished entirely. Enough games. He withdrew his hand from his pocket and Jake caught the glint of metal. A gun, partially concealed but clearly meant to be seen. "You're going to come with me, you and Arya both. My car's just beyond those trees. Start walking." Jake's heart hammered in his chest, but he forced himself to remain outwardly calm. This was the dangerous moment he'd anticipated and prepared for. He just needed to buy a little more time. "Where are we going?" he asked, taking a deliberate step to the right, away from the path and into the more densely wooded area Decker had indicated. "You don't need to worry about that," Decker said, following. "Just keep moving." Luna stayed close to Jake's side, her body tense but controlled. To anyone watching, they would have looked like a man walking his dog, accompanied by a friend. Nothing unusual, nothing to raise alarm. But as they moved deeper into the trees, away from the main park area, the danger of their situation became increasingly clear. Jake's mind raced. The path they were on would eventually lead to the parking lot on the far side of the park, where Decker presumably had his vehicle waiting. Once inside that car, their chances of escape would drop dramatically. He had to make his move now, while they were still in the park, while there was still open space around them. "You know," Jake said conversationally, slowing his pace slightly, "I've been wondering about something. If Luna Arya is as valuable as you say, why did she end up at my door? Military dogs don't just escape their handlers." Decker's jaw tightened. "Keep walking." "Unless," Jake continued, as if Decker hadn't spoken, "she wasn't escaping from her handlers. Maybe she was escaping from you." It was a calculated provocation, and it worked. Decker grabbed Jake's arm, his fingers digging painfully into muscle. "I said keep walking," he hissed, the gun now pressed against Jake's side. In that moment, several things happened at once. Luna erupted into motion, her teeth fastening around Decker's wrist. Not the one holding the gun, but the one gripping Jake. The sudden attack made Decker stagger, cursing, his aim wavering. Jake twisted away, simultaneously yanking on the paracord attached to Luna's collar. "Go!" he shouted. "Go now!" Luna released Decker's wrist and bolted into the trees, the thin cord unspooling behind her. Decker, recovering his balance, raised his gun, aiming not at Jake, but at the fleeing dog. "No!" Jake launched himself at Decker, tackling him to the ground. The gun went off, the report shockingly loud in the quiet park, but the bullet went wide, burying itself in a tree trunk. They grappled on the forest floor, Jake fighting with the desperate strength of a man protecting his family, Decker with the cold efficiency of professional training. Dirt and leaves flew as they rolled, each struggling for control of the weapon. Jake managed to slam Decker's gun hand against a rock, the impact loosening his grip enough for the weapon to fall. It skittered across the ground, coming to rest several feet away. Both men lunged for it, but Decker was faster, his fingers closing around the grip. He rolled onto his back, the gun swinging toward Jake, his face contorted with rage. The shot never came. Instead, there was a blur of gray fur and snapping teeth as Luna reappeared, launching herself at Decker with the full force of her military training behind the attack. Her jaws closed on his arm, teeth sinking deep, drawing a howl of pain from the man. The gun discharged again, the bullet harmlessly entering the ground. Jake scrambled forward, finally wresting the weapon from Decker's injured hand. "Call her off!" Decker gasped, blood seeping through his sleeve where Luna's teeth had found flesh. "Call off your dog!" Jake backed away, the gun now trained on Decker. "Luna, enough!" To his amazement, Luna immediately released her hold and retreated to Jake's side, her muzzle stained red, but her posture still alertly defensive. "She really is trained," Jake observed, keeping the gun steady, "just not to obey you." From the direction of the main park came the sound of shouting, people responding to the gunshots. Jake knew they had minutes, perhaps less, before others arrived on the scene. "Get up," he ordered Decker, slowly. Decker rose, clutching his bleeding arm, his eyes darting between Jake, Luna, and the surrounding trees, clearly calculating his chances of escape. "Don't," Jake warned, recognizing the look. "I don't want to shoot you, but I will if I have to." For a tense moment, it seemed Decker might risk it anyway. Then his shoulders slumped, defeat replacing the calculation in his eyes. "You have no idea what you've gotten yourself into," he said, his voice low and venomous. "They'll never stop looking for her, for what she's carrying." "Who's they?" Jake demanded. "Who are you working for?" Before Decker could answer, if he had any intention of doing so, the sound of footsteps crunching through the underbrush announced new arrivals. Jake tensed, not knowing if they were help or more of Decker's people. "Police! Drop the weapon!" Relief flooded through Jake as two uniformed officers emerged from the trees, guns drawn and aimed at the tableau before them. Jake with the gun, Decker with his bloody arm, Luna standing alert between them. "He attacked us," Jake explained quickly, carefully setting Decker's gun on the ground and raising his hands. "My dog was defending me. This man has been threatening my family." One of the officers approached cautiously, her attention divided between the three of them. "We received reports of gunshots. Everyone stay where you are while we sort this out." While her partner secured Decker, the female officer, her nameplate read Martinez, took Jake's statement, her expression growing increasingly concerned as he explained the situation. Luna showing up at their door, the implant beneath her skin, Decker's threats against Mia and Lily. "We've had our eye on this park today," she told Jake, glancing at Decker, who was now handcuffed and seated on a nearby log. "Got an anonymous tip about a possible kidnapping attempt. Sounds like we arrived just in time." Cameron, Jake realized, relief washing over him. His friend had come through, alerting the police without directly involving them in a way that might have endangered Mia and Lily. Officer Martinez reached for her radio. "I'll send a unit to check on your sister and niece, just to be safe." While they waited for additional officers to arrive, Jake knelt beside Luna, checking her for injuries. She seemed unharmed despite the confrontation, her focus still alert, her body tense and ready. "You saved my life," he told her softly, stroking her head. "Thank you." Luna leaned against him, some of the tension leaving her body. Her eyes, when they met his, were filled with an intelligence and loyalty that transcended ordinary animal behavior. Whatever her background, whatever information she carried, she had chosen Jake and his family as her allies, and she had fought to protect them with everything she had. The next hour passed in a blur of police activity. Decker was taken away in a patrol car, his expression murderous as he stared at Jake and Luna through the window. Jake gave a formal statement, explaining everything from Luna's appearance at their door to the confrontation in the park. "We'll need to impound the dog as evidence," one of the officers began, but the fierce look on Jake's face made him pause. "Luna stays with me," Jake said firmly. "She's a witness, not evidence, and she needs protection." Officer Martinez intervened, suggesting a compromise. "How about this? You keep the dog, but you stay available for further questioning. And you let our K9 unit tech take a look at that implant you mentioned." Jake agreed, and soon a police technician arrived with equipment similar to what Cameron had used. The results were the same, confirmation of a sophisticated data storage device, but no way to access its contents without specialized tools. "Whatever she's carrying, it's high-level stuff," the technician told Officer Martinez. "Might want to kick this up to the feds." Jake's phone rang, the burner he'd purchased earlier. It was Lily, frantic with worry after hearing about the incident in the park. "We're fine," he assured her. "Both Luna and I are okay. The police have Decker in custody. Is everything all right there?" "Yes, the officers just left. They told us what happened." Lily's voice broke slightly. "Jake, when I heard there were gunshots." "I know, but it's over now. We're safe." He looked down at Luna, who sat patiently at his feet. "We'll be home soon." But as Jake ended the call, a new officer approached, a detective in plain clothes, his expression grave. "Mr. Carson, I'm Detective Reeves. We need to talk about the man you encountered today." Jake felt a chill at the detective's tone. What about him? "The ID he was carrying is fake, high quality, but definitely fraudulent. And when we ran his fingerprints," Reeves hesitated, "they match a former Special Forces operator named Eric Mercer, reported killed in action 3 years ago." "A ghost," Jake murmured, the implication sinking in. If Decker or Mercer was officially dead, then whoever he was working for existed off the books. No accountability, no oversight. "There's more," Reeves continued. "When we searched him, we found this." He held up a small device that looked like a modified smartphone. "It's a scanner, designed to detect and track specific frequencies, like those emitted by certain types of tracking implants." Jake looked down at Luna, pieces falling into place. "That's how he found us. He wasn't tracking Luna. He was tracking the data she's carrying." Reeves nodded. "Whatever your dog has inside her, it's valuable enough that someone sent a dead man to retrieve it." As the detective spoke, Luna suddenly stiffened, her ears perking forward. She turned toward the woods beyond the park, a low growl building in her throat. Jake followed her gaze but saw nothing in the gathering dusk. Still, he trusted Luna's instincts. "We need to go," he told Reeves. "Now." The detective seemed about to argue, but the intensity in Jake's eyes changed his mind. "I'll have an officer follow you home, just as a precaution. And Mr. Carson, be careful. This isn't over." Those words echoed in Jake's mind as he drove home, Luna beside him, a police cruiser following at a discreet distance. Decker, or Mercer, might be in custody, but if he was working for someone, that someone would likely send others when he failed to report in. They were still in danger, and the only clue to why lay beneath Luna's skin, encrypted in a chip they couldn't access. As they turned onto the long driveway leading to the cottage, Jake made a decision. They couldn't stay here, not with Decker's people potentially searching for them. They needed to move, to find somewhere safe while they figured out what to do next. And most importantly, they needed to understand why Luna had come to them specifically, what it was about their family that had made her choose their door on that stormy night. The answer, Jake suspected, lay not just in what Luna was carrying, but in who had sent her. And to find that person, they would need to uncover Luna's true identity. As they pulled up to the cottage, Lily was already waiting on the porch, Mia beside her, Nova cradled in her arms. Luna whined softly at the sight of them, her tail wagging with relief. "Uncle Jake!" Mia cried, running down the steps as he emerged from the car. "You saved Luna!" Jake caught her in a hug, lifting her off her feet. "Actually, kiddo, Luna saved me." Over Mia's head, his eyes met Lily's, communicating without words the gravity of their situation. Lily nodded slightly, understanding. They would need to leave, and soon. But for this moment, they were together and safe. Luna had reunited with her puppy, nudging Nova gently with her nose, checking that her baby was unharmed. And Mia was beaming as if Christmas had come early, her arms now wrapped around Luna's neck. "I knew she was special," Mia said, looking up at Jake with absolute certainty in her blue eyes. "She came to us because we needed her, and she needed us." Jake smiled, touched by her simple wisdom. "I think you're right, Mia. I think that's exactly why she came." What he didn't say, couldn't say, with Mia listening, was the question that now haunted him. Why had Luna chosen them? Out of all the houses, all the families she could have approached, why theirs? The answer, he suspected, was hidden somewhere in Luna's past. A past that was somehow connected to their own, in ways they had yet to discover. That night, after Mia was asleep, Jake and Lily gathered in the kitchen to plan their next move. They would leave in the morning, Jake decided, head to his friend's cabin in the mountains where they could regroup and decide what to do. But as they talked, Luna suddenly rose from her place by Nova's box, her ears alert, her body tense with attention. She padded to the back door, whining softly, pawing at the wood. "What is it, girl?" Jake asked, moving to her side. "Do you need to go out?" Luna looked up at him, then back at the door, her message clear. There was something outside she needed to show him. Jake hesitated, remembering Detective Reeves's warning. But Luna's urgency was impossible to ignore. He grabbed a flashlight and his jacket. "I'll be right back," he told Lily, his hand on the doorknob. "Lock the door behind me." Outside, the night was cool and clear, stars emerging in the velvet sky. Luna led Jake across the yard with purposeful strides, heading for the oak tree where they had buried the puppies. But she didn't stop at the small grave. Instead, she continued past it, into the edge of the woods that bordered the property. Jake followed, his flashlight beam cutting through the darkness, illuminating the path ahead. Luna moved with increasing excitement, as if she recognized where she was going. And then she stopped, her nose to the ground, digging frantically at the base of a hollowed-out tree stump. "What did you find, Luna?" Jake knelt beside her, directing the flashlight beam into the hole she was creating. The light reflected off something metallic. Jake brushed away more dirt, revealing the corner of a small metal case, partially buried and well hidden. With trembling fingers, he extracted it from its hiding place. It was a waterproof container, military grade, with a small key lock on the front. But the lock had been broken, forced open by someone in a hurry. Jake lifted the lid, his heart pounding. Inside lay two items, a weathered dog tag bearing the name CPT Jonah Marks, and a small USB drive, its metal casing scratched but intact. Luna sat back on her haunches, watching Jake intently as he examined these items. In her eyes was a look of accomplishment, as if she had completed a mission long in the making. "Good girl," Jake whispered, stroking her head. "Is this what you came to show us? Is this what it's all about?" Luna leaned into his touch, her mission fulfilled. But as Jake studied the dog tag, a chill ran through him. The name was familiar, hauntingly so. Captain Jonah Marks. Why did he know that name? And then it hit him with the force of a physical blow. Jonah Marks. Sarah's fiancé, the man she had planned to marry before his deployment, before the mission that had reportedly claimed his life. Mia's father, the man who had never returned home to meet his daughter. What is the connection between Luna and Mia's father? How did the dog know where to find this hidden case? Share your theories about what might be on that USB drive. Jake stared at the dog tag in his palm, the metal cool against his skin. Captain Jonah Marks. The name brought back a flood of memories. Sarah's radiant face when she announced their engagement, the tearful goodbye at the airport, the devastating news of his death on a classified mission. Mia had been just 3 months old when the officers had come to the door with their somber faces and rehearsed condolences. But if Jonah had died 3 years ago, how had these items ended up buried on their property? And how had Luna known where to find them? "Jake?" Lily's voice carried through the darkness, a flashlight beam sweeping across the yard. "Is everything okay?" He quickly pocketed the items and stood. "We're fine. Coming back now?" As they walked back to the house, Luna stayed close to his side, her mission apparently complete. Jake's mind raced with questions, each more disturbing than the last. If Jonah hadn't died as they'd been told, what had really happened to him? And what information could be on that USB drive that was worth sending armed men to retrieve? Inside, Lily was waiting, her face tight with concern. "What happened? You were gone so long." Jake hesitated, glancing toward the stairs to make sure Mia wasn't within earshot. "Luna found something," he said finally, drawing the dog tag and USB drive from his pocket. "Something Jonah left behind." Lily's hand flew to her mouth, her eyes widening as she recognized the name. "Jonah? Sarah's Jonah?" Jake nodded grimly. "The very same, and I think whatever is on this drive is what Decker, or Mercer, or whatever his name is, was really after." They moved to the kitchen table, speaking in hushed tones, though Mia was asleep upstairs. Jake connected the USB drive to his laptop, bracing himself for encryption warnings or password prompts. Instead, a single video file appeared. Jake and Lily exchanged a glance, then Jake double-clicked the file. The screen filled with the image of a man in his early 30s, with close-cropped dark hair and intense eyes. Despite the poor lighting and the fatigued lines on his face, there was no mistaking him. Captain Jonah Marks, looking very much alive. "If you're watching this," Jonah began, his voice low and tense, "then Arya found you. Good girl." He cleared his throat, glancing over his shoulder, as if checking that he was alone. "I don't have much time, so I'll be brief. My unit was assigned to investigate corruption within a private military contractor called Nexus Security. We had evidence they were selling classified intelligence to hostile powers, using their government contracts as cover." Lily reached for Jake's hand, gripping it tightly as Jonah continued. "We collected proof financial records, communications, everything needed for a full prosecution. But before we could deliver it, we were ambushed. My team..." Jonah's voice broke slightly. "My team didn't make it. I was wounded but managed to escape with the evidence." He leaned closer to the camera, his expression fierce. "The people behind this, they have connections in high places. I couldn't trust the normal channels, so I encrypted the data and stored it in Arya's implant. She was our unit's dog, the best of the best. The encryption key is MyMJ0623. He smiled sadly. Mia's birthday, in case I didn't make it back to meet her. Jake felt a lump form in his throat. Jonah had known he might never see his daughter, had prepared for that possibility even as he hoped against it. I'm going to ground, but they're close behind me. Arya knows where to go if something happens to me. I've trained her to find her way to Sarah if I don't return. Jonah's face softened. Sarah, if you're watching this, I'm so sorry. I wanted nothing more than to come home to you and Mia. The video paused briefly as Jonah seemed to collect himself. The data in Arya's implant is the key to exposing Nexus. There's a contact, Special Agent Diana Chen, FBI. She's clean, I've verified it personally. 202-555-0147. She'll know what to do with the evidence. Jonah glanced over his shoulder again, tension visible in every line of his body. I have to move. Just remember, these people will stop at nothing to recover this data. Trust no one who comes looking for Arya. His gaze intensified, boring through the screen. And Sarah. Tell Mia her daddy loves her more than anything in this world. The video ended, leaving Jake and Lily in stunned silence. Luna lay at their feet, watching them with what could only be described as relief in her amber eyes. All this time, Lily whispered finally, he was trying to get home? Jake nodded, his thoughts in turmoil. And he sent Luna, Arya, to find Sarah. But Sarah's gone. So Luna came to us instead, Lily finished, to the next best thing, Sarah's family. That's why she brought her puppies, Jake realized. She was completing her mission. But she was also a mother trying to save her babies. He looked down at Luna with newfound respect. She's been carrying this burden all along. Luna thumped her tail once, as if confirming his assessment. What do we do now? Lily asked. Call this FBI agent? Jake checked his watch, nearly midnight. First thing tomorrow. For now, we need to prepare to leave. If Decker found us, others might too. He ejected the USB drive and pocketed it again. We should try to get some sleep. Dawn comes early. But sleep remained elusive for Jake. He lay awake in bed, turning over the revelations in his mind. Jonah Marks had been alive after his reported death, had entrusted his mission and perhaps his final message to his family, to Luna. The dog had traversed who knew how many miles, through what dangers, to fulfill that trust. And somewhere along the way, she had become pregnant, had given birth to puppies who might not survive the journey. Yet she had persisted, protecting both her biological mission as a mother and her assigned mission as a military dog with equal dedication. Jake slipped out of bed before dawn, finding Luna already alert, standing guard near the front door. They shared a moment of silent communication, an understanding that transcended words. We'll finish this, Jake promised her softly, for Jonah, for Mia. Luna pressed against his leg, her warmth a comfort in the chill morning air. By 6, they were packed and ready essentials only, loaded into Lily's SUV. Mia, still drowsy with sleep, clutched Nova's carrier as Jake helped her into the back seat. Where are we going? She asked, yawning. On an adventure, Jake told her, keeping his tone light. Remember that cabin we visited last summer? The one by the lake with all the frogs? Mia nodded, her eyes brightening. Can we catch tadpoles again? Absolutely, he promised, ruffling her hair. And Luna can help. At the mention of her name, Luna jumped into the SUV, settling beside Mia's seat with the alertness of a guardian. Despite the urgency of their departure, Jake couldn't help but smile at the bond that had formed between the child and the dog. A bond he now realized that might have been predestined. Lily slid into the driver's seat, her face resolute. Ready? Jake nodded, climbing into the passenger side. Let's go. They pulled out of the driveway just as the sun was cresting the horizon, casting long shadows across the road. Jake glanced in the side mirror, watching their cottage recede from view. Would they ever return? Or was this the beginning of an entirely new chapter in their lives? They had been driving for about 20 minutes, taking back roads to avoid the main highway, when Lily suddenly stiffened. Jake, she said quietly, her eyes on the rearview mirror. We've got company. Jake turned, his heart sinking as he spotted the black SUV behind them, keeping pace at a discreet distance. How long have they been there? Just noticed them, Lily replied, her knuckles white on the steering wheel. But they might have been following since we left. In the back seat, Luna had also noticed the tail, her ears pricked forward, a low growl rumbling in her chest. "What's wrong with Luna?" Mia asked, picking up on the tension. "She's just excited about our trip," Jake said, forcing a smile. To Lily, he murmured, "We need to lose them before we reach the cabin. Try to make it to town. More witnesses there." Lily nodded, pressing the accelerator. The SUV surged forward, putting more distance between them and their pursuer, but the black vehicle immediately increased speed as well, closing the gap. "They're not even trying to be subtle anymore," Lily observed grimly. Jake reached for his phone, intending to call Detective Reeves, but the screen showed no signal. "They're jamming our phones," he realized with a sinking feeling. "These aren't amateurs." The black SUV was gaining on them now, close enough that Jake could see the driver, a woman with short blonde hair, her expression coldly professional. Beside her sat a man whose face Jake couldn't make out, but whose posture suggested military training. "Lily, when we reach the intersection ahead, turn right instead of left," Jake instructed, forming a plan on the fly. "It'll take us into town past the sheriff's station." But as they approached the crossroads, the black SUV suddenly accelerated, pulling alongside them. The passenger window rolled down, revealing a man aiming what looked like a small device at their car. "Get down!" Jake shouted, just as a loud pop sounded, and their SUV lurched violently to one side. The steering wheel jerked in Lily's hands as the front tire blew out, sending them skidding toward the ditch. Lily fought for control, managing to bring the vehicle to a shuddering halt on the shoulder, half on and half off the road. The black SUV pulled in front of them, blocking their path. In the back seat, Mia whimpered, clutching Nova's carrier to her chest. Luna positioned herself protectively in front of the child, her hackles raised, teeth bared in a silent snarl. "Listen to me," Jake said urgently, turning to face Lily and Mia. "No matter what happens, stay in the car. Lock the doors after I get out." "Jake, no," Lily began, but he cut her off. "They want the drive and Luna. I'll try to negotiate." He pressed the USB into Lily's hand. "If anything happens to me, call the number Jonah gave us. Get this to Agent Chen." Before Lily could protest further, Jake opened his door and stepped out, hands raised to show he was unarmed. Luna whined, clearly wanting to follow, but Jake firmly ordered her to stay. The doors of the black SUV opened, and two figures emerged, the blonde woman Jake had glimpsed earlier, and a tall man with a military bearing. Neither drew weapons, but their stance made it clear they were armed and ready. "Professor Carson," the woman called, her voice carrying across the distance between them. "We need to talk." Jake held his ground, keeping his body between the strangers and his family's vehicle. "You have a funny way of starting a conversation. Who are you?" The woman approached slowly, hands visible at her sides in a calculated show of non-aggression. "My name is Diana Chen, FBI." Jake stiffened, suspicion flooding through him. "Prove it." The woman reached into her jacket, slowly, deliberately, and produced a badge, holding it up for inspection. "I believe Captain Marks told you to contact me." Jake's mind raced. This could be a trick, a way to get him to reveal that he'd seen Jonah's message. "I don't know what you're talking about." Chen sighed, a flash of frustration crossing her face. "Look, we don't have time for this. The men who sent Deckard, Mercer, after you will be right behind us. We intercepted his communication when he failed to check in, but that won't hold them for long." Behind her, the male agent was scanning the road in both directions, his posture tense and watchful. "If you're really FBI," Jake challenged, "why disable our tire? Why jam our phones?" "Because we couldn't risk you calling the local police," Chen explained. "Nexus has people everywhere. We needed to make contact directly, securely." She took another step forward. "Captain Marks trusted me. He encrypted that data using your niece's birthday as the key. June 23rd, right? That detail, one that hadn't been in any official record, known only to family and close friends, made Jake hesitate. Could she really be the contact Jonah had mentioned? Inside the SUV, Luna had been watching the exchange intently. Suddenly she barked once, sharply, then wagged her tail. "Your dog recognizes me," Chen said, a hint of a smile softening her features. "Arya and I worked together on the Nexus investigation. She's a good judge of character." Jake glanced back at Luna, who seemed relaxed now, her earlier aggression gone. If Luna trusted this woman? "We have the drive," he admitted finally, "and we know about Jonah, but I need more than your word before I hand over anything." Chen nodded, respect flashing in her eyes. "Smart. Call this number." She recited a string of digits. "It's the direct line to my supervisor at the FBI. He'll confirm my identity." Jake relayed the number to Lily through the window. She tried her phone, surprised to find it working again. After a brief conversation, her expression changed from suspicion to cautious relief. She nodded at Jake. "All right," Jake said, turning back to Chen. "Let's say I believe you. What happens now?" "Now we get you and your family to safety," Chen said, "along with Arya and that drive. We have a secure location prepared and a tech team ready to analyze the data." "And Decker?" "In custody but not talking. We believe he's just a hired gun. Nexus employs dozens like him." Chen's expression hardened. "The people we're really after are much higher up the food chain." Jake made his decision. "We'll come with you, but Luna and Nova stay with us." Chen nodded. "Of course. Captain Marks would have wanted it that way." As Jake turned to retrieve his family, a distant engine roar caught everyone's attention. Chen's partner tensed, drawing his weapon. "We've got company," he called. "Multiple vehicles coming fast." Chen swore under her breath. "We're out of time. Get them in our vehicle, now." Jake yanked open the SUV door. "Change of plans. We're going with them right now." Lily's eyes widened. "Jake?" "Trust me, Lily. Luna trusts them." He helped Mia out, still clutching Nova's carrier. "Quickly now." They had just reached the FBI vehicle when two black vans rounded the curve behind them, tires squealing as they accelerated. "Get in!" Chen shouted, sliding into the driver's seat. Her partner took up a position behind their SUV, weapon aimed at the approaching vans. Jake lifted Mia into the back seat, then helped Lily in beside her. Luna jumped in after them, positioning herself protectively around Nova's carrier. Jake was about to follow when gunfire erupted from the lead van, bullets pinging off the asphalt near their feet. Chen's partner returned fire, providing cover as Jake dove into the vehicle. Chen didn't wait for the doors to close before stomping on the accelerator, the powerful engine responding instantly. "Stay down," she ordered as they sped away, bullets shattering the rear window. Jake shielded Mia with his body, feeling glass fragments shower around them. Luna pressed against them both, her body a warm, solid barrier against danger. "Are they hit?" Chen called over her shoulder, executing a sharp turn that threw them all against the side of the vehicle. "We're okay," Jake confirmed after a quick check. Mia was trembling but unharmed, her arms wrapped around Nova's carrier. Lily had a small cut on her cheek from the flying glass, but nothing serious. The chase continued for several harrowing minutes, Chen's expert driving gradually putting distance between them and their pursuers. Her partner maintained contact with someone through his earpiece, relaying their position and requesting backup. "Roadblocks in place 2 miles ahead," he reported finally. "State Police and FBI Tactical Unit. Our friends back there are about to have a very bad day." Chen allowed herself a tight smile. "Good. Agent Wallace, contact the safe house. Tell them we're incoming with the package and 4 civilians." Jake held Mia close, feeling her small body gradually relax as the immediate danger passed. Luna remained vigilant, her eyes tracking between the shattered rear window and the child in Jake's arms. "It's okay," he told her softly. "You did it, Luna. You completed your mission." Luna settled her head on Mia's lap, her eyes fixed on the child's face, with an expression of pure devotion. The bond between them, Jake realized, went beyond the normal connection between a child and a dog. Luna had been entrusted with protecting Jonah's daughter, a mission she had embraced with her whole being. The safe house turned out to be a secluded compound about an hour outside the city, nestled in the foothills and surrounded by high fences and security cameras. As they passed through multiple checkpoints, Jake felt a mixture of relief and apprehension. They were safe, but they were also entering a world far removed from their quiet, ordinary lives. Inside, they were shown to a comfortable suite of rooms, a common area with a kitchenette, and 3 bedrooms with attached bathrooms. Despite the pleasant furnishings, the lack of windows and the secured door made it clear this was as much a protective custody situation as a refuge. "You'll be comfortable here," Chen assured them, her professional demeanor softening slightly. "A doctor will be by shortly to check you all over, and there's food in the fridge. I'll return once we've had a chance to analyze the data." After she left, Lily sank onto the couch, the events of the day finally catching up with her. "What have we gotten ourselves into, Jake?" He sat beside her, equally exhausted. "Something important," something Jonah believed was worth his life. Mia, meanwhile, had set up Nova's carrier in a corner, creating a makeshift nest with blankets provided by their hosts. Luna lay beside it, watching over her puppy with the same protective intensity she showed toward Mia. A soft knock announced the arrival of the promised doctor, a kind-faced woman who efficiently checked them over, cleaning Lily's cut and confirming that the rest of them were physically unharmed, if shaken. "The dog and puppy look healthy too," she added, giving Luna a respectful berth. "Though I'd recommend a proper veterinary check when things settle down." Hours passed. They ate, rested, tried to process the dramatic turn their lives had taken. Jake kept expecting Chen to return with news, but the day wore on without any word. It was early evening when the door finally opened again. Chen entered, followed by a tall, distinguished man in his 50s, whom she introduced as Deputy Director Hawkins. His presence suggested the seriousness with which the FBI was treating the situation. "First, let me assure you that you're safe here," Hawkins began, taking a seat across from them. "The men who pursued you have been apprehended, and we've contained the immediate threat." "What about the data?" Jake asked, cutting to the heart of the matter. Was it what Jonah thought it was? Chen and Hawkins exchanged a glance. "It was," Chen confirmed. Captain Marks wasn't exaggerating. The evidence implicates several high-ranking officials at Nexus, as well as 3 government contractors and a Deputy Secretary of Defense. We're preparing to move on them simultaneously, before they can destroy evidence or flee. "So Jonah was right," Lily said softly. "He really did uncover a conspiracy." "A significant one," Hawkins agreed. "Captain Marks and his team sacrificed their lives to bring this information to light. Their service will not be forgotten." He paused, his expression softening. "Which brings me to another matter. There's someone here who'd like to see you." He nodded to Chen, who opened the door again. A man in a wheelchair entered, pushed by a nurse. He was thin, his face bearing the marks of prolonged illness or injury. But despite the changes, Jake recognized him instantly. "Jonah!" he breathed, stunned. Mia looked up from where she'd been playing with Nova, her eyes wide with curiosity at the stranger. Jonah's gaze fixed on her, his expression a complex mixture of joy, sorrow, and longing. "Is that?" he whispered, his voice breaking. "That's Mia," Jake confirmed, his own voice thick with emotion. "Your daughter." Luna, who had been watching from her place beside Nova, suddenly rose and trotted to Jonah's side, her tail wagging in recognition. She placed her head on his lap, and his hand, trembling slightly, came to rest on her fur. "Good girl," he murmured, tears welling in his eyes. "You found them. You brought me home." Hawkins cleared his throat. Captain Marks was recovered from a private medical facility operated by Nexus 3 months ago. He was in a coma, kept alive but isolated. We believe they were trying to extract information from him about the location of the drive. "They wanted to know where I sent Arya," Jonah confirmed, his hand still stroking Luna's head. "But I never broke, and they underestimated her intelligence, her loyalty." Mia had been watching this exchange with growing curiosity. Now she approached slowly, studying Jonah's face. "Who are you?" she asked directly, in the unfiltered way of children. Jonah swallowed hard, visibly gathering his courage. "My name is Jonah," he said gently. I was a friend of your mom's, a very good friend." Mia considered this. "My mom is in heaven," she said matter-of-factly. "I know," Jonah replied, his voice rough with unshed tears. "She was the most wonderful person I ever knew." Mia nodded, accepting this assessment of her mother. Then, in a gesture that brought tears to everyone's eyes, she climbed carefully onto Jonah's lap, mindful of not hurting him. "If you were Mom's friend, then you're my friend too." Jonah looked up at Jake and Lily, overwhelmed. They nodded encouragingly, understanding that the full truth would come in time, when Mia was ready to hear it. Hawkins and Chen discreetly withdrew, leaving the newly reunited family to their private reunion. Luna settled at Jonah's feet, her mission finally, truly complete. Later that night, after Mia had been tucked into bed, Jonah shared his full story with Jake and Lily, how he had been ambushed, left for dead, then captured when Nexus operatives realized he might know where the drive was. Years of captivity, of resistance, sustained only by thoughts of Sarah and the daughter he had never met. "When I sent Arya to find Sarah," he said, his voice low to avoid waking Mia, "I never imagined." He paused, emotion overwhelming him for a moment. I thought I was sending my last message home. I never thought I'd actually make it back." "Luna, Arya, never gave up on you," Jake told him. "She protected your daughter, your evidence. She completed every mission you gave her." Jonah smiled, watching Luna as she lay curled around Nova. "She always was the best of us, smarter than half the humans I worked with." They talked late into the night, filling in the gaps of the years they'd lost, sharing memories of Sarah, planning for a future none of them had dared to imagine. The details would be complicated. Jonah's recovery, the upcoming prosecutions, the inevitable media attention. But the essential truth was simple. Their family, broken by tragedy and deception, was whole again. In the morning, Mia woke to find Jonah already up, sitting in his wheelchair by the window that overlooked the compound's garden. Luna lay at his side, Nova nestled against her. "Good morning," Mia said, climbing onto the window seat beside him. "Good morning," Jonah replied, his heart in his throat at this simple, precious exchange. Mia studied his face in the clear morning light, her head tilted thoughtfully. Then, with the directness that children often possess, she asked, "Are you my daddy?" Jonah's breath caught. He glanced toward the bedroom door, but Jake and Lily were not yet up. This moment belonged to him and his daughter alone. "Yes," he said softly, honestly. "I am." Mia nodded, as if confirming something she had already guessed. "I thought so. You have eyes like mine." "You have your mother's smile," Jonah told her, fighting back tears. "The most beautiful smile in the world." Mia considered this, then asked, "Is that why Luna brought us together? Because she knew you were my daddy?" Jonah looked down at the German Shepherd, who gazed back with those wise, amber eyes. "I think that's exactly why," he agreed. "Luna is very smart. She knew we belonged together." Mia leaned against him, small and warm and trusting. "I'm glad she found us." "So am I," Jonah whispered, his arm encircling his daughter for the first time. "So am I." Outside, the sun rose higher, casting golden light across the garden. In time, there would be more explanations, more adjustments, more healing. But in this moment, surrounded by the family he'd thought lost to him forever, Captain Jonah Marks knew that the long journey home was finally complete. And Luna, watching over them all, rested at last, her dual missions accomplished. The soldier had delivered her intelligence, and the mother had protected her puppy. Against all odds, she had kept faith with both her duties, guided by a loyalty that transcended human understanding. In the end, it was love. Not military training, not duty, not even survival instinct, that had brought Luna through the storm to their door. Love for her puppies, love for her handler, and a new love for the child who had welcomed her without fear on that rainy night. A love that had, against all odds, brought a family back together. This incredible story of loyalty and love teaches us that sometimes our greatest guardian angels have 4 paws. If Luna's journey touched your heart, like, share, subscribe, and tell us in the comments about a special animal that changed your life forever.